Earlier this evening, we spoke with Illinois Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley about the pending trial. We began by asking why Democrats are deciding to send impeachment articles now, nearly a month after they were passed.
You know, I think the American people have learned a lot more about what's taking place, and I think it's educating and informed them. First, that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans really don't want a trial, the trial in the traditional sense of witnesses and testimony. To the point of now 72% of all Americans think there ought to be a fair trial, and that should include witnesses and the documentation that the Trump administration has withheld.
Now, we understand Speaker Pelosi is going to be selecting impeachment managers from the House. Exactly what will these people do?
Well, by this time tomorrow, they will have walked with the Sergeant-at-Arms to actually carry the articles of impeachment through Statutory Hall, underneath the dome, into the Senate chambers. And basically, they're the ones arguing the case for impeachment before the United States Senate, using the body of knowledge we've learned through my committee, the House Select Committee on Intelligence, and the Judiciary Committee.
So what might she be looking for in an impeachment manager? For example, someone from one of those committees that you just named. Might you be a contender?
I think a number of things. I promise you something it won't be. During the Clinton impeachment, the Republicans sent 13 white men to be the impeachment manager. I promise you this will be a smaller number, and it will be a much more diverse number. Look, it's a deep bench. I'm not worried about who the Speaker selects at this point in time. I've been honored to serve I think a key role on the House Select Committee on Intelligence to investigate the Russians' attack on our democratic process and the impeachment process. Whomever she selects will do a good job. At this point in time, people representing our district should be more worried about we than me.
Now, there has been strong opposition from Republicans over calling new witnesses during the trial in the Senate. Any chance that that will change?
Well, it really depends on whether or not there'll be a minimum of 4 Republican senators who develop enough of a backbone to say we ought to listen to witnesses on this. So, you know, we hear little rumblings that Senators Collins, Murkowski, Romney, and others might be willing to step up. We're hoping that the public pressure that has built in the months since we've completed this process will encourage them to do the right thing. Americans know what a trial looks like, and it doesn't include an outright dismissal, as Mitch McConnell has talked about. So we're hoping that that has created enough effort on their part to do the right thing.
What are your thoughts, or what could happen if the president, if the White House should invoke the executive privilege to prevent someone like John Bolton from testifying at the Senate trial?
Well, it's certainly some sort of privilege. There's a ruling by the Chief Justice who would be presiding. And in a very unusual circumstance, the only one I'm aware of, the majority of the body can overrule the Chief Justice. So to answer your question, the first decision on that is made by the presiding officer, the Chief Justice, and then he can be overridden by a majority of the Senate. I'd like to think that, again, they would do the right thing. The president has argued for some time that he has absolute privilege, which is legal malarkey, and the courts have ruled so far. Hopefully the senators will see the same.
So what is the timeline from here on out? How soon do we think the Senate might have a trial?
Well, I think they'd start right away. The Constitution seems to dictate as such. That doesn't mean they'll complete it right away, but I do think it'll move rather quickly. Presumably, they will accept the articles tomorrow and begin the process. They want to hear opening arguments and then decide on witnesses. That is a horrible idea that Mitch McConnell hopes that people will forget that we need witnesses before he has a ruling. But at some point, the Senate will take votes on those matters, and it will be publicly known who has decided whether or not to get those documents or try to get those witnesses.
So then whether or not the Senate calls witnesses could determine how long it lasts? You said it could move quickly. Are we talking a matter of days?
Well, I think it'll begin quickly. The process will move fairly quickly overall. They can argue, they can deliberate on many of these matters privately and then come back and announce their votes. that's something that's a little bit to our dismay. We won't watch all the proceedings. Bottom line, how quickly this moves will depend on whether or not enough senators, a majority of the senators, decide to make this a full trial. In the history of the United States, there has never been an impeachment that has gone to its conclusion without witnesses. This simply can't be the first that does that.
We'll have to leave it there. Congressman Mike Quigley, thank you for joining us from D.C.
Thank you.